The Lord created the foundations of heaven. The Lord created the foundations of heaven. With it He gave a gift to all of creation. An angel wrapped in the scent of the Lord's wisdom. This gift was called Fatima, leader of women. She is a proof against oppressors and evil. She is a proof against oppressors and evil. Those who have her love, those who have her love are immune to the devil. The whole world knows her scent as the scent of angels, the unhidden secrets, the true holy grail. لست تدري لما أحرق البابي بالنور أعادوا أطفاء ذاك النور. لست تدري ما الصدر فاطم، ما المسمار ما حال ضلعها المكسور، ما سقوط الجنين ما حمرة العين، ما سقوط الجنين ما حمرة العين، وما بال قرطها المنثور. دخلوا الدار وهي حسرى بمرأة، دخلوا الدار وهي حسرى بمرأة من علي ذاك الأبي الغيور. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. قال الله الحكيم في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. نور مجالسكم بذكر الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
In life, when we want to describe a human being, when we want to describe their qualities and their characteristics, we usually have another person, a golden role model, a golden standard in which we compare and contrast. But what if the person that we are trying to describe, what if the person that we are trying to explain is the actual golden standard herself? What if this person that we are trying to explain is the golden role model for our lives in this day and age? The position of Fatima Zahra is one of great importance that we, within these nights and the nights that befell us before, we would like to hopefully go through in this today's lecture. A prophet, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, in one of his narrations, he states that of the men, there are many who are perfect. Of the men, there are many who are perfect. But of the women, there are only 4. They are Asiya, Maryam, Khadija al-Kubra, and of course, Fatima al-Zahra alayha wassalam. In the lifetime of the Prophet, many a times the Prophet would re-pledge his interest and re-pledge his allegiance to Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. He would always mention to the people how dear Fatima al-Zahra, his daughter, was to him. He didn't do this for no reason. Of course, what he wanted to do was maintain that Fatima, the daughter, his own daughter, was a special human being amongst the community. Many a times, one of the prophetic traditions he always states, which is a famous tradition, he says that Fatima is a part of me. And he didn't say this on one occasion, he said this on many occasions. So that the whole world, the whole community will know the position of Fatima. Fatima is a part of me. Whoever hurts Fatima has hurt me. Whoever pleases Fatima has pleased me. And whoever has pleased me has pleased Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The importance of this narration cannot be swept under the carpet or cannot be overlooked. Fatima is a part of me. Whoever hurts Fatima hurts me. Again, we'll look at the significance of hadith in the remaining lecture. One of the times during the lifetime of the Prophet, another narration which honored the position of Fatima al-Zahra, and this is what we want to focus on, the position of Fatima al-Zahra within society. Another narration is, of course, Hadith al-Kisa, a narration which we always mention and we always speak about the fada'il of Hadith al-Kisa, in the sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to honor this family. This family contained the Prophet, the Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Imam Ali alayhi salam, Fatima al-Zahra, and the 2 sons Hassan and Hussein. However, if you notice within this hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't address the Prophet and tells him, I know the Prophet, or I introduce to the whole world the Prophet and then the family. This is a very important point. He doesn't say, this is the Prophet Muhammad and here is his family. We notice in hadith, when Jibreel asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who is under the cloak, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Fatima. So the first person he mentions, he doesn't mention the Prophet, although the Prophet is the best of creations. He doesn't mention the Prophet, he mentioned this is Fatima and her father, and her husband, and her children. Again, highlighting the importance of the position of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi afdal salatu wassalam. Many times people tried to ask for the hand in marriage of Fatima al-Zahra. And many times did they come and they failed. The Prophet would be asked by certain companions, we would like to ask for the hand in marriage of Fatima al-Zahra. He would politely refuse. But then came a time where Ali ibn Abi Talib would ask for the hand in marriage. This delighted the Prophet, and he said, this isn't a matter where I can give my consent. The marriage of Fatima al-Zahra with Ali ibn Abi Talib was a marriage given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was made in heaven. Now Ali, of course, we don't need to mention the fada'il or the benefits of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Of course, you all know the position of Ali ibn Abi Talib to the Prophet. But for the fact that the Prophet could have married Fatima Zahra to certain companions for maybe political reasons, for wealth reasons, but he didn't. He made sure that the marriage was between Imam Ali alayhi salam and Fatima Zahra. There were many occasions in the life of Fatima Zahra which shaped the whole course of history within Islam. You see, Fatima Zahra was one of the first people to stand up against injustice. Often is the case that we overlook the story of Fatima Zahra. There are certain controversies regarding the nail and the door and who hit her and who attacked the house, and we want to keep silence. And this may be the case, but we've given injustice to Fatima Zahra and the way she stood up against injustice during her time, especially during the time where the message was brand new. The Prophet had literally just given the message to the people. And a comparison between the message of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, or the stand against injustice of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, comparing that to the stand against injustice to Fatima Zahra, we find that the stand was actually greater than Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Why? During the time of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, corruption was widespread. It was obvious. The Khalifa of the time would drink alcohol. The Khalifa of the time, this is the Islamic Khalifa of the time, he would openly bring women to his courts. This is the courts of Islam here. So Imam Hussein had to deal with this kind of corruption, where it was open for all. So therefore he had to sacrifice himself for the resurrection of Islam. Whereas Fatima Zahra, the reason why she stood up against injustice, corruption wasn't obvious. Corruption was not obvious at all. Everyone was happy during the lifetime of the Prophet. The Prophet had just given the message. Everything was harmonious. Everyone loved each other. There were neighbors. There was zakat. There was khums. There was charity. Everything was absolutely brand new. So why did Fatima Zahra stand up against injustice? What was the injustice? The injustice was that as soon as the Prophet passed away, there were certain acts that were committed by certain people within history. It was clear in the narrations that when the Prophet, before he passed away, a year before he passed away, he mentioned something very, very simple to the whole 30, 40, 50,000 people that were sitting in front of him. He mentioned this very clearly. I give you two weighty things. I leave behind two weighty things. The Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. You hold on to these two, you never go astray. The Quran and what? The Ahlul Bayt. The Ahlul Bayt are whom? The Ahlul Bayt was the Prophet, Fatima Zahra, Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, and Imam Hussein. Why? Because in the Quran also pierced the ribs of Fatima Zahra. The cry came, the cry came. اختفت فاطم ولاذت ورا الباب اختفت فاطم ولاذت عصرها الماء له مروق ولاذت يا خايب لام جابلتك ولاذاك ذنب لجلة واسد المنيه هيدا بلجلة توسدها Then the cry came from Fatima to Zahra قامت تنادي وفي الضايع Come and help me محسن أسفل by the door Come and help me So they attacked and not only they pushed the door Qulfud came and he saw Fatima to Zahra and he slapped Fatima the daughter of the Prophet فضربها على وجهها After the aftermath of the attack of Fatima to Zahra, it came to a moment where Ali ibn Abi Talib was now having to wash the body of Fatima to Zahra. During the washing, Asma, the servant, was also present. He would wash the body from head to toe, but there was a moment where Ali ibn Abi Talib stopped. When he stopped, he just suddenly stopped and he moved towards the corner of the room. Oh, Asma at this time was watching Ali ibn Abi Talib. She says, Ali ibn Abi Talib, oh Imam, you are the one who lifted Khaybar. You are the lion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why do you sit in the corner and why do you cry and weep at this situation? Ali ibn Abi Talib replies to Asma, do not blame me, oh Asma, for as I was washing the body of Fatima, as I was washing the body of Fatima, my hand came across that broken rib. My hand came across those broken ribs and I remembered the attack on that
house. But brothers and sisters, I take you back to the moment where Fatima Zahra was to pass away. She would tell Asma, her servant, "Oh Asma, I have prepared dinner for Hassan and Hussein. Oh Asma, I have prepared dinner for Hassan and Hussein. When I enter the room, I will be praying to my Lord. This is a great night, oh Asma. If you hear me praying, then know that I am alive. If you do not hear my voice, then know that I am with my father, Rasulullah." So during these times, Asma, after a while, she would constantly go towards the door and listen to Fatima to Zahra praying. After a while, she came to the door. She tried to hear the voices of Fatima, but there was silence. She opened the door and she found Fatima to Zahra lying down as she met her Lord, Fatima. But at this moment in time, she saw Hassan and Hussein enter the house. Oh Hassan and Hussein, she came hurriedly to them. Oh Hassan, oh Hussein, come and sit down and have your dinner. Hassan and Hussein looked at Asma and they said to her, "Oh Asma, when have you seen us have dinner without our mother Fatima to Zahra?" At this moment they noticed that there was something wrong, so they entered the house and they entered the room. They saw Fatima to Zahra on the floor. One of them ran to the chest of Fatima to Zahra. One of them ran to the feet of Fatima, their dear mother, and they started screaming, "Wa Umma, Wa Sayyidata." But the boy who ran to the chest of Fatima was Imam al-Hussein. Why did he run to the chest of Fatima? Because he knew that in 60 years' time, there would be a time where no one would be around Imam al-Hussein to bury him. There would be a time where a man would sit on the chest of Imam al-Hussein. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Inshallah, brothers, you'll be able to stand to help with the Latmiyah. Fatima Zahra was behind the door. When the push came, the door crushed her. There was يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة يا غريب يا يا ليتنا كنا معكم سعادتي لنفوز ويطهركم تطهيرا. صل على محمد وعلى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So during the lifetime of the Prophet made it very clear
who the next leader, let's just say, was going to be. Even those companions who took the Khilafah came to Imam Ali alayhi salam and said, Bakhin, bakhin bika ya Ali. It was very clear. So, this is the standard, this is the situation of the people of Medina as soon as the Prophet passed away. As soon as the Prophet passed away, people met in Saqifa, and they did what they did, and they chose their own Khalifa. Fine, but this is an injustice to Ahlul Bayt. This is an injustice not only to Ahlul Bayt, this is an injustice to Islam as a whole. Because the Prophet knew exactly what he was doing. The Prophet, when he wants to leave behind the wasi, behind a Khalifa, he knows that this person that he's leaving behind him, this person that he's leaving behind is the most worthy person, is the most best fitting person to make sure that the message of Islam will carry on and carry on and carry on. Therefore, the crime was committed and Saqifa was done and the Khilafah was taken from Imam alayhi salam. This is the first thing. The second thing was what? Inheritance. There was a land of Fatima. It's very, very simple. Land of Fatima was left to Fatima Zahra. Why did you, in what nature, in what need did you come and take the land of Fatima from Fatima? Again, it's another injustice. But Fatima Zahra was very wise. Everything that she did, every word that she muttered was calculated and was wise because she knew that everything she said would be an example for nations and generations to come. How? The sermon of Fatima was one of the most outstanding sermons ever given by a person in history. Why? Because the fact that it was a woman who gave it. Now during this stage, during the time of the Prophet, and there were certain acts that were carried out by the people which was not befitting of the Islamic society, such as the oppression of women. Women were not seen as someone of high standards. The Prophet came and he removed all of those misconceptions. How? When Fatima Zahra would walk, past him, he would stand up. This was something which was never seen in the time of Jahiliyyah, even during the time of the Prophet. A man such as the stature of the Prophet ﷺ would stand up whenever his daughter Fatima Zahra would walk past. Giving what? Giving importance to not only Fatima Zahra, but giving importance to a woman. Fatima Zahra came to the Prophet's mosque in Medina, and justice was made against her. She came with a couple of her servants and friends, and she came to the Khalifas who took her right of Fatima. When she came, she puts a blindfold, or she puts a partition between her and the men. A partition. This is very important. She left an example for all women that if they wanted to stand up against oppression, these are the examples that you should take. She came and put a partition between her and the men that were sitting in the Prophet's mosque. Firstly, what she did was she praised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She praised Allah for the blessings that He bestowed upon her, showing what the education that she was given by the Prophet of Islam. Secondly, she started to praise Imam Ali alayhi salam and told every single person of Medina, this is where everyone can see, everyone can hear and everyone can see. She told every single person in Medina that only a month ago or only a year ago you pledged your allegiance to Imam Ali alayhi salam. You pledged your allegiance to Ali ibn Abi Talib. What's happened now? Why is the Khilafah in your hands? Number two. And number three, she said, my inheritance is my inheritance. I want it back from me, and these are the evidence that I can give towards you. Of course, they refused, and Fatima Zahra went back to her house. The death of the Prophet was one which was very severe on Fatima Zahra. She obviously loved her father so much, and she took care of her father so much that she was given the title of Ummu Abiha, the mother of her father. Why? Because when Khadija, the wife of the Prophet, passed away, Fatima Zahra not only had to take the daughter role, but she took the mother role as well. So she looked after the Prophet, she made sure he was okay, and therefore she was given the title of Ummu Abiha. So when the Prophet passed away, this was very, very hard and difficult for Fatima Zahra to deal with. So what did she do? She would often go to the Prophet's grave, and she would wail and she would cry, and she would wail and she would cry, and she would say, "Oh Father, after you they took the rights of Ali ibn Abi Talib, your cousin, away from you. Oh Father, after you left, they came and oppressed us, the Ahlul Bayt. Oh Father, oh Father, oh Father." Now the people of Medina can hear this. The people of Medina can hear this. And in a way, they were uncomfortable with this situation. Why? Because half of them knew of the position of Fatima Zahra and knew of the position of Ali ibn Abi Talib, but they refused to act. So Fatima Zahra made sure and made double sure that they knew what the truth was and knew what falsehood was. And therefore, what did she use? She used the concept of sorrow, al-huzn. Why? Because Fatima Zahra couldn't raise an army against the Khulafa. She didn't have that kind of means in front of her. She couldn't raise an army against the Khulafa. She didn't have any media. She didn't have any of the facilities that she could to raise a revolution against the Khulafa. So what did she do? She used the concept of huzn. She used the concept of sorrow, to cry. So she cried and she cried and she wailed, and she made sure that every single person in Medina could hear her screams and could hear the message that she was giving to them. We are oppressed for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I am standing out against the injustice for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because I know that if I do not stand out against injustice, what would happen? Islam would fall. Islam would fall. Imam Ali ﷺ couldn't raise an army. Imam Ali ﷺ was given a direct appointment by the Prophet, and the Prophet told Imam Ali ﷺ, there's going to be a time where you raise your sword, and there's going to be a time where you keep the sword in the sheath. There's going to be a time where you're going to have to stay patient, even though the most dire calamities will befall you. There's going to be a time where you're going to have to stay patient. This was the time. And therefore, wilayah was left to Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. She was the one that upheld the virtues of the Ahlul Bayt. She was the one that upheld the truth and falsehood. So she came out and she spoke against injustice. How? Using her cries and using her huzn. Because she couldn't raise an army. If Imam Ali was to raise an army, there would be bloodshed. There would be bloodshed, and don't forget that the message of Islam was very new. Those who came new to Islam would think, what kind of religion is this? As soon as your messenger leaves, there's people fighting each other. So Imam Ali, for the sake of Islam, would keep silent. But Fatima Zahra would speak out. Fatima Zahra would speak out, and she would speak out, and she'd make sure that the whole of Medina would know. Now, here comes a decision. The people of Medina know about Fatima Zahra, and they know about the message of Fatima Zahra. But what do they do? What do they do? So they go to the government. The government have three choices. The Khilafah at the time, they have three choices. Number one, they can speak to Ali ibn Abi Talib and tell him, this is the situation, try and open some dialogue. You know, we are the Khalifas now, deal with it. Or they can tell him, we'll reach some sort of conciliation or reach some sort of agreement between us two, as in we've taken the Khilafah, but we know that you deserve the Khilafah, but we'll work something out. Or number three, they'll say, we are wrong. Here's the Khilafah, your Islam, you are the ones that are most rightfully astute to the leadership. Of the three choices, obviously number three they couldn't do. They couldn't give back the Khilafah to Ali ibn Abi Talib because they've taken it and things have been going smoothly. So what did they do? They came to speak to Ali ibn Abi Talib. They told him, oh Ali, certain things have happened, and your wife Fatima Zahra is crying and she's wailing and she's wailing and she's crying and she's creating discomfort within the community. She's creating some sort of disunity in this community. Can you do something about it? That's number one. Number two, they told him, is there some sort of agreement between us two? Do you accept that we take the Khilafah? Ali ibn Abi Talib, in very simple words, said, I don't need to tell you what the Prophet has left behind. I don't need to tell you what the Prophet said only a year ago. In terms of the Khilafah, I am the one who, it is rightfully mine. If you want to take it, take it. But in terms of Fatima Zahra, what he had to do was he built a house just on the outskirts of Baqiyah. Just on the outskirts of Baqiyah. So that Fatima Zahra can go there and she can cry and she can wail at peace. So that while she was away from the people of Medina, so the people of Medina wouldn't notice the crying of Fatima Zahra. Now during this time, when the women were to go to Fatima Zahra during her crying, they would console her because her father had passed away. It hasn't even been 40 days. It hasn't been 40 days since the passing away of the Prophet, and already they are oppressing the Ahlul Bayt, and already they are oppressing Fatima Zahra. Anyway, during these times, the women would go and console Fatima Zahra, and they'd send their condolences. And during this time, she would speak to them. She would say, all of your husbands know about the truth. All of your husbands know about the truth of Ali ibn Abi Talib, but none of you are saying something. Which she's showing us a message even today. There is oppression in Bahrain, there is oppression in Syria, there is oppression in Iraq, there is oppression in Pakistan, there is oppression in Saudi. All the Muslims are facing oppression. Those who remain silent are as bad as those who commit the actual crime itself. This is exactly what Fatima Zahra was shown to the people. Those who stay silent, even though they know of the truth, are as bad as those who are committing the oppression itself. So Fatima Zahra not only split between truth and falsehood and made it very clear to the people, but she also gave us a message to stand up against injustice, no matter how few in numbers, no matter how fearful the situation is, you always stand up against oppression. And oppression can occur everywhere. Oppression can occur in the house, oppression can occur in the university, oppression can happen in schools, in colleges, in work, and on a large-scale political atmosphere. So the government took the decision. What they needed to do was to show the people, the nation, that this government wasn't going to sit by and let people come and cry and take their khilafah or take this or take that. They were going to have an iron fist over the government and make sure that they crush any rebellion trying to usurp their khilafat. So they decided to attack the house of Fatima Zahra. To attack the house of Fatima Zahra. Now this is the house, brothers and sisters. This is a house that the Prophet for 6 months would stand outside the house and he would constantly speak and constantly praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he would constantly thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he would constantly remember the words إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمْ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا, for 6 months, so that the whole nation would know what kind of house this is. Not only was this the house of the Prophet, but there was a narration that Fatima Zahra, when she was in the house, she was tired from all the housework. And one of the titles of Fatima Zahra is Al-Muhadditha, meaning that she was in constant communication with the angels. That's the pots that she was cooking, and the handle was stirring by itself. It was stirring by itself. Meaning was that there was angels constantly coming in and out of this house. Number 2, this house had Imam alayhi salam, had Imam Hussein, children in the house. So they decided to attack the house of Fatima Zahra alayha afdal salati wa azka salam. And before I enter the na'ya, I believe that there will be some brief translation of the lecture from the Hajj, inshallah. So once the doctor will be able to finish the translation into Arabic, I will then go into the na'i, inshallah. And then hopefully we can, as a community, begin to remember Fatima Zahra with the eulogies and the latmiyat, inshallah. So we'll welcome al-Hajj bi barakat salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
السلام عليكم. مختصر المحاضرة للسيد علي الأخ علي هي عن حياة فاطمة الزهراء. يقول: عندما نقارن بين شخصين يجب أن يكون شخص كامل لنقارن به. في زمن الرسول كان هناك كثير من الرجال الكاملين، ولكن بين النساء كان هناك 4 فقط: خديجة، آسيا، مريم، وفاطمة الزهراء. أراد النبي أن تكون بنته فاطمة مثالا يحتذى به، وحيث قال: فاطمة هي جزء مني وكل من آذاها آذاني. موقع فاطمة الزهراء في المجتمع الإسلامي، لذلك ذكر حديث الكساء. في هذا الحديث أراد الله أن يذكر الجميع أن عائلة النبي هي عائلة معصومة. زواج فاطمة الزهراء والإمام علي هو ارتباط أمره الله. هناك عدة مراحل مرت بها الزهراء عليه السلام، وكانت في كل المراحل مظلومة. في زمن النبي لم يكن هناك أي هدم للإسلام، ولكن بعد وفاة النبي بدأ الهدم. أخذت الخلافة من أهل البيت وبدأت المؤامرات. اختار النبي خليفته الإمام علي ليس لأنه قريبه أو زوج ابنته، لأنه الإنسان الوحيد اللائق لخلافة النبي. النبي أعطى فدك إلى فاطمة الزهراء، وهي هذه إحدى المظلوميات التي مرت بها فاطمة الزهراء. كان النبي يحترم فاطمة، حيث كان يقوم عندما تمر أمامه، وهذا شيء غريب في المجتمع في ذلك الزمان. الخليفة الذي جاء بعد النبي استرجع فدك منها. فاطمة الزهراء تأثرت جدا بوفاة والدها النبي عليه السلام. كانت تذهب إلى قبر الرسول وتبكي بكاء مرا وتشكو له. أهل المدينة كانوا يسمعونها، ولكن لم يعملوا أي شيء لمساعدتها. كانت ليس لها أي قوة لاسترجاع فدك، ولكنها استعملت طريقة الحزن والبكاء والشكوى. الإمام علي لم يرد أن يحارب لاسترجاع الخلافة، وفضل السكوت لأنه يعلم أن ذلك يؤثر على الإسلام وتحدث المذابح. لذلك الإمام فضل السكوت. كانت فاطمة الزهراء في دارها التي بناها الإمام علي لها تشكو وتبكي إلى الله. أهل المدينة شعروا بعدم الراحة من هذا الشيء، لذلك هاجموها في دارها وكسروا بابها وأحدثوا الضرر فيها. وهذا هو مختصر الحديث.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
So the decision was made by the government to attack the house of Fatima al-Zahra and force the allegiance of Ali ibn Abi Talib to them. The first Khalifa optioned, or the first Khalifa sanctioned this attack, and they came with firewood. They came with firewood and an army of about 100 people to take the Khilafah from Ali ibn Abi Talib. So as they neared the house of Fatima al-Zahra, there came a shout from outside, "Oh Ali ibn Abi Talib, come out and pledge your allegiance to the first Khalifa. This is what we are ordering you to do. We have tried to negotiate with you, but we have failed, and now we are forcing the Khilafah from you right at this moment in time." A question was asked to this man. A question was asked to this man, and the question was, "O companion of the Prophet, Fatima is in the house. O companion of the Prophet, Fatima is in the house. The reply that came, which changed the whole course of history, was, and so what? So knowing the position of Fatima Zahra within this lecture which I have tried to give to you, knowing the position of Fatima Zahra, knowing how dear she is to the Prophet, knowing how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has honored her, the reply came, and so what? Truth, falsehood. Truth. So they came and they approached the door of Fatima Zahra, and they came with the fire. And during this moment there was a lot of confusion in the house. So they came and they knocked on the door with force, and they said, Fatima, where is your husband Ali ibn Abi Talib? If he does not come out, we will break down the door. Fatima Zahra reassures him, are you sure you want to take this step? Are you sure you want to do this? Because I am Fatima Zahra, I am the daughter of the Prophet. Are you sure you want to break down this door? He said, yes, I want the allegiance of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And so, with the force, between the wall and door I bled. As my tears rest, as my tears rest beneath my eyes, I ask you, take me to patience. I do not know where patience lies, nor do I know where is justice. I cried for Ahmed in my nights, and you told me to leave this place. They pushed the door against my cries, and they struck me upon my face. Should I tell you about Muhsin? Should I tell you about Muhsin? Were he to be born beautiful? But they crushed me and crushed my son from my chest by the door he fell. I heard him cry
wish I'd grown up by your side. I wish I'd grown up by your side. But now to your son say farewell. بشمار يا كرار يا كرار تلهب النار يا كرار يا كرار ضلعي بشمار يا كرار يا كرار وتلهب النار يا كرار يا كرار أصرخ وناديك مشتاق حاجيك أصرخ وناديك مشتاق حاجيك أريد أروي الجرى يمك وحاجيك ولو أدري الدمع مني أذيك أريد أروي الجرى يمك وحاجيك ولو أدري الدمع مني أذيك أخاف أكسر شعورك لو أراويك أخاف أكسر شعورك لو أراويك الكسر ضلع وبعد محسني بكشيك أي كسر ضلع وبعد محسني بكشيك داري الدموع يا كرار يا كرار كسرى وضلوع يا كرار يا كرار دمعي لأذيك مشتاق حاجيك دمعي لأذيك مشتاق ضلعي بسمار ضلعي بسمار يا كرار يا كرار تلهب النار يا كرار يا كرار أصرخ ونادي مشتاق مشتاق حاجي أصرخ ونادي أصرخ ونادي ما شاء الله مشتاق حاجي انكسر ضلعي وقف يمي وشتمني الكسر ضلعي وقف يمي وشتمني ولأن يدري الوصية ما رحمني ولأن يدري الوصية ما رحمني على عنادك اجل دار وهضمني على عنادك اجل دار وهضمني ووقف يا حيدر قالي وضربني زرق الامتون يا كرار يا كرار وحمر العيون يا كرار يا كرار جيت ارد اراويك مشتاق حاجي اصرخ وناديك اصرخ وناديك ومشتاق حاجي عقب كل الجرى بضلوعي جمره احترق دار على راسي وعيني حمره عقب كل الجرى بضلوعي جمره احترق دار على راسي وعيني حمره حسرتي مو إلي لو بعد عشرين أنا حزني على زينة تبكي حسرة قعدتي وياي يا كرار تمسح دماي يا كرار يا كرار وتبكي على طريق مشتاق حاجيك أصرخ وناديك مشتاق حاجيك انكسر انكسار خاطر شعوري ودمعي ملهوف، شسولف يا علي لو يمي وتشوف. انكسار خاطر شعوري ودمعي ملهوف، شسولف يا علي لو يمي وتشوف. عين يمي زينب تكتب حروف، بدأت تكتب علم وخيام وجفوف. بدأت تكتب علم وخيام وجفوف. دمعي الإحساس يا كرار يا كرار، نادي عباس يا كرار يا كرار. يكفلها أصيك مشتاق حاجيك، يكفلها أصيك مشتاق حاجيك. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت، وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين، خصوصا سيدي ومولاي بالفضل العباس واخته زينب جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. إلهي بمريض كربلاء زين العابدين يا رب عافي وشافي جميع المرضى، على الأخص من أوصانا بالدعاء يا الله. إلهي ارزقنا في الدنيا زيارة الحسين وفي الآخرة شفاعة الحسين يا الله. إلهي بالحسين تقبل منا ومن مؤسس هذا المجلس بأحسن قبول يا الله. اللهم وفقنا لمراضيك، جنبنا معاصيك، اجعل عواقب أمورنا خيرا يا الله. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج، واجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه ومن الذابين عنه من المستشهدين بين يديه يا الله. الآية المباركة الشريفة لقضاء الحوائج وشفاء المرضى. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. يكشف السوء يا الله. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات وإلى أرواح خدمة الحسين نهدي لهم ثواب الصورة المباركة الفاتحة، قبلها صلوات.